If you are fascinated by mystical predictions and unexplained phenomena, then prepare yourself for an astonishing revelation. Padre Pio, a revered saint known for his stigmata and spiritual insights, made a chilling prophecy that continues to captivate and unsettle people worldwide to this day. And now, you won't believe what Padre Pio predicted for 2024. Why is this particular prophecy considered one of the most frightening? Join us as we delve into the depths of this dark prediction. But before that, let's take a closer look at the enigmatic figure of Padre Pio himself. From his humble beginnings to his canonization, Padre Pio, also known as Father Pio, was born Francesco Forgione on May 25, 1887, in Pietrelcina, a small village in Italy. He was the son of Grazio Mario Forgione and Maria Giuseppa di Nunzio, and grew up in a deeply religious peasant family. From a young age, Francesco felt a strong calling to dedicate his life to God. Francesco's family was very devout, attending Mass daily, praying the Rosary every evening, and observing religious fasts. Although his parents were illiterate, they shared biblical stories with their children, deeply rooting their faith. The Forgione family also celebrated saints' feast days, which were significant events in their community. As a child, Francesco faced several health issues, including severe gastroenteritis at age 6 and typhoid fever at age 10. Despite these trials, he had his first experiences of heavenly visions and spiritual ecstasies during his early years. These experiences strengthened his desire to lead a life dedicated to religious service. At the age of 10, Francesco began working on the family land, tending their small flock of sheep. This period was crucial in shaping his understanding of hard work and devotion. At just 15, a visiting Capuchin monk seeking donations in the countryside inspired him to become a friar. To prepare for joining the Capuchin order, Francesco needed a better education. His father traveled to the United States to find work and finance Francesco's private lessons. After successfully completing his studies, Francesco entered the Capuchin novitiate in Morcone on January 6, 1903. He donned the Franciscan habit and took the name Fra Pio in honor of Pope Pius X. Padre Pio spent most of his religious life at the convent of San Giovanni Rotondo. In 1918, he received the stigmata, marks resembling the wounds of Christ, which attracted considerable attention. The Holy See conducted several investigations into these phenomena. Despite temporary sanctions from the Vatican, Padre Pio's reputation continued to grow due to his holiness and the miracles attributed to him. Many people traveled to see him. He founded the Casa Salievo della Sofferenza, a hospital near the convent, demonstrating his commitment to spiritual and physical healing. Padre Pio's work and deep faith brought comfort and relief to many. Let's now look in more detail at the life of Padre Pio, born Francesco Forgione, who dedicated his life to the priesthood and service despite severe health issues throughout his life. His journey is not only a story of religious devotion, but also of overcoming personal adversity and experiencing profound spiritual events that touched many lives. Padre Pio began his formal religious training at the age of 17 when he joined the convent of St. Francis of Assisi in Umbria. During his studies, he suffered from various ailments, including loss of appetite, insomnia, exhaustion, migraines, and frequent vomiting, limiting his diet mainly to milk and cheese. Despite these health issues, the faithful and historians note this period as the beginning of many unexplained phenomena surrounding him. During prayer, he often seemed absent from the outside world, entering a state of stupor or ecstasy, and it was even reported that he levitated. In the hope of improving his health, he was sent to a mountain convent in 1905, but his condition did not improve. Eventually, he made his solemn profession in 1907 and was ordained a priest 3 years later at the Cathedral of Benevento by Archbishop Paolo Scanosi. His health remained precarious, allowing him to stay with his family in Pietrelcina while wearing the Capuchin habit. During this period, he was deeply engaged in writing mystical letters to his spiritual directors. In 1916, despite his fragile health, Padre Pio returned to communal life at the Our Lady of Grace convent in San Giovanni Rotondo, where he would spend the rest of his life, except for a brief period of military service during World War I. There, his spiritual life deepened. He emphasized the importance of the rosary, regular confession, meditation, and self-examination. His famous advice, pray, hope, and don't worry, summarized his approach to spiritual and daily challenges. Padre Pio's reputation for holiness grew, especially after he began showing signs of stigmata in 1918. This phenomenon only heightened interest in his life, with many people coming to see him for advice, confessions, and to witness his spiritual gifts firsthand. His miraculous abilities reportedly included healing, prophecy, bilocation, and even levitation. After World War I, as people struggled to rebuild their lives, many found comfort and hope in Padre Pio's presence and words. He became a spiritual director for many, advocating weekly confession and daily communion, and his advice was sought by faithful from around the world. His family also played a significant role in his life. His mother passed away near the convent, and later, his father and brother came to live with him. In addition to his spiritual duties, Padre Pio focused on a concrete project to help those in need. In 1925, he converted an old convent into a clinic, which became the precursor to the Casa Salievo della Sofferenza, a hospital that opened in 1956. This project was largely funded by donations from around the world and even received support from the United Nations Relief and Rehabilitation Administration. Initially under his direct control, he later handed the hospital over to the Holy See, retaining only supervisory duties after a special dispensation from his vow of poverty granted by Pope Pius XII. Death comes to all, but for Padre Pio, it marked the culmination of a life filled with spiritual devotion and miraculous phenomena. On September 23, 1968, the revered priest passed away, leaving behind a legacy of faith and healing that continues to inspire millions worldwide. In the 1960s, despite his declining health, Padre Pio remained committed to his spiritual duties. His last public appearance was particularly poignant on September 22, 1968. He celebrated a Mass to mark the 50th anniversary of the miraculous appearance of the stigmata on his body, a sign of his profound union with Christ. A large crowd of pilgrims was present, and television coverage allowed many others to witness this significant event. During the Mass, Padre Pio appeared extremely weak and fragile. His voice was barely audible, and by the end, he was so exhausted that he nearly collapsed while descending the altar steps. He needed the support of his fellow Capuchins to stay upright. This Mass would be his last. The next morning, on September 23rd, Padre Pio made his last confession and renewed his Franciscan vows, a final reaffirmation of his lifelong dedication to his faith. Holding his rosary, he repeatedly uttered the names of Jesus and Mary, his voice too weak to recite full prayers. Around 2:30 in the morning, he passed away peacefully in his cell at the Our Lady of Grace Monastery in San Giovanni Rotondo. In the days leading up to his death, those close to Padre Pio observed that the stigmata, visible on his body for 50 years, had miraculously disappeared. The doctor who examined his body after his death confirmed that there were no traces or scars of the stigmata, a final testament to the extraordinary life he had led. Padre Pio's body was placed in a coffin and displayed in the monastery church, allowing thousands of pilgrims from afar to pay their final respects. The funeral, held on September 26, gathered around 100,000 people, reflecting the profound impact he had on so many lives. After a solemn procession through San Giovanni Rotondo and a funeral mass, he was buried in the crypt of the Church of Our Lady of Grace. Padre Pio and the controversial prophecy of the 3 days of darkness. Padre Pio, a revered Italian priest known for bearing the stigmata, is often associated with various mystical phenomena and prophecies, including the unsettling prophecy of the 3 days of darkness. This prophecy, while captivating, is surrounded by controversy and skepticism, especially concerning its attribution to Padre Pio. However, one observation and question remain. Will Padre Pio's prophecy regarding the 3 days of darkness come true in 2024? The prophecy of the 3 days of darkness predicts a terrifying period when darkness will envelop the entire earth for 3 days and 3 nights. According to the prophecies, this darkness will be so profound that the only light will come from blessed beeswax candles. During this period, many calamities are foreseen. Demons will appear, and the enemies of the church will perish. This prophecy parallels the biblical accounts of the 10 plagues of Egypt and the apocalyptic visions in the book of Revelation, where darkness plays a significant role. Interestingly, the specific details of this prophecy are not found in the Bible, but are said to be based on private revelations given to various saints and mystics over the centuries, such as Blessed Anna Maria Taigi and Mary Julie Jeheni. These figures are said to have provided detailed descriptions of the events that will unfold during these dark days. However, the link between Padre Pio and this prophecy is subject to debate. While some believers insist that Padre Pio warned of these impending dark days in a letter to the Herald's Commission at the Vatican, there is no concrete evidence or traceable source to confirm that he made such predictions. Indeed, the Capuchin order to which Padre Pio belonged has officially denied that he ever prophesied such an event. In the supposed warnings attributed to Padre Pio, he advised the faithful to prepare by covering their windows, praying the rosary, reading spiritual books, taking care of animals, and most importantly, staying indoors. He would have emphasized the importance of repentance and making amends for sins as ways to overcome the trials to come. Believers in the prophecy claim that those who follow these instructions will be preserved by divine intervention, and that normalcy will return with the sunlight on the 4th day. Despite the interest and attention it generates in some Catholic communities, the Church has not officially recognized the 3 days of darkness as a doctrinal belief. It remains a topic of popular eschatological discussion rather than an established religious teaching. The dramatic nature of the prophecy and its call to repentance align with traditional Christian eschatology themes, which emphasize preparation for final judgment and the importance of maintaining a state of grace. Do you think the prophecy of the 3 days of darkness will come true in 2024? Padre Pio's prophetic letters, warning against divine judgment and calling for repentance, still have many believers. Among them, some believe in the miracles associated with Padre Pio, including writings believed to come directly from Jesus Christ. These writings are particularly profound, evoking a sense of urgency and deep spiritual significance. They are not merely letters, but are seen as divine warnings urging humanity to repentance and spiritual vigilance in anticipation of the coming tribulations. The letter believed to have been received by Padre Pio from Jesus resonates with apocalyptic themes similar to those found in biblical prophecies. It speaks of a great tribulation, comparing it to the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, and warns of an imminent and unavoidable divine judgment. The tone is solemn and urgent, with a powerful message calling for immediate action in the spiritual lives of its readers. The message of Jesus through Padre Pio is dramatic and strong. It expresses a desire to reveal the depths of his great love, but also communicates a severe warning. My son. My son? Padre Pio conveys an emotional and urgent message that he claims to have received from Jesus Christ himself. He begins by expressing his desire to reveal the great love of his heart. I have long awaited this hour when I will reveal to you the great love of my heart. Pray and make reparations for me. Warn others to do the same, for the time is near when I will visit my unfaithful people because they have not heeded the time of my grace. This introduction sets the stage for a serious contemplation of the state of humanity and the necessity of conversion. The letter exhorts the faithful to persevere in prayer and to prepare for the moment when God's judgment will come suddenly and unexpectedly. It emphasizes that no one will escape this examination, highlighting the need for vigilance and continuous spiritual preparation. Jesus instructs to watch the sun, the moon, and the stars in the sky. When they seem to be unduly disturbed and agitated, know that the day is not far off. The images used in the message are vivid and evocative, designed to stir the soul and awaken the spirit. The letter describes people rushing towards the abyss of hell with joy and exuberance, as if attending a great celebration, unaware of their imminent fate. This metaphor serves as a powerful reminder of the consequences of ignoring divine warnings and the importance of living a life aligned with God's will. The words of Jesus through the letter also emphasize the importance of fervent prayer, reparation, and the practice of mortifications, noting that great things are at stake. It is a call to aid in the salvation of souls and to be active participants in the spiritual warfare that determines the eternal destiny of many. The letter ends with a reminder of the severity of the coming judgment, which will strike like a thunderbolt, destroying the wicked without mercy. This final warning is a striking reminder of the power of divine justice and the ultimate reality of God's reign. For those who believe in the authenticity of these letters, they serve as a catalyst for deeper faith, prompting believers to focus not only on personal holiness, but also to work for the spiritual well-being of others. Padre Pio left behind important instructions that could be necessary in 2024, according to some private revelations concerning the 3 days of darkness. This event, according to these revelations, will test humanity's faith and resilience. Padre Pio's words depict a vivid picture of the precautions and spiritual practices to adopt to navigate this dreaded period. At the heart of his messages, Padre Pio stresses the importance of staying indoors. He warns that during these days, the outside world will be full of dangers, making it imperative for everyone to stay home. This seclusion is not just for safety, but also to serve as a spiritual retreat, a time to focus inwardly and fortify one's faith. The advice and prophecies attributed to Padre Pio, whether authentic or subject to debate, highlight traditional themes of Christian eschatology. They remind us of the importance of repentance, prayer, and spiritual vigilance. As the end of 2024 approaches, these messages can serve as inspiration to strengthen personal faith and prepare the soul for potential trials ahead. However, while the details may vary, the core of the recommendations remains centered on prayer, protection, and faith. Let us delve deeper into the practical and spiritual aspects of Padre Pio's advice for these 3 days of darkness. Padre Pio recommends carefully covering the windows of every house to ensure that no light can penetrate and that the occupants are not tempted to look outside. This precaution stems from the belief that what will happen outside should not be seen, as the scenes could be terrifying and potentially dangerous. Blessed beeswax candles play a crucial role in his recommendations. These candles are not ordinary. They are symbols of divine protection and the only source of light to be used during the darkness. The specific use of beeswax candles is related to their traditional religious significance, representing the purity and light of Christ. Padre Pio suggests that these candles will suffice for the duration of the darkness, providing both physical light and spiritual consolation. Prayer occupies a central place in his instructions. Continuous prayer, especially the rosary, is recommended as a means of connecting to the divine. Padre Pio encourages the faithful to engage in acts of spiritual communion and to read spiritual books, using this time for deep religious reflection and spiritual growth. These activities are not only forms of devotion, but also ways to maintain calm and focus during times of global distress. Acts of reparation and love are described as particularly pleasing to God during these difficult times. These acts can include offering one's sufferings, forgiveness, and other gestures of kindness and charity. They are seen as powerful tools to transcend the physical constraints of a situation, influence the spiritual realm, and align with the divine will. With great compassion, Padre Pio emphasizes the importance of taking good care of animals before the darkness sets in, as going outside to tend to them afterward will be too dangerous. This consideration highlights Padre Pio's holistic approach, recognizing the needs of all living creatures during the tribulation. Padre Pio vividly describes the supernatural phenomena that will accompany the 3 days of darkness, speaking of storms of fire, tempests, and earthquakes that will sweep across the earth. These descriptions are not just warnings, but aim to underscore God's power and the importance of divine protection during these moments. He encourages the faithful to secure their homes, lock all doors and windows, and engage in penance and prayer before a crucifix. The messages end with a promise of divine protection and preservation for those who believe and follow the given instructions. Padre Pio assures that those who are in a state of grace and seek refuge under the mantle of divine protection will find safety. After the terrifying events, the world will witness a renewal. Heavenly angels will bring peace, the sun will shine again, and those who have endured will feel grateful. Through his letters, Padre Pio not only offers a detailed survival guide for the 3 days of darkness, but also a plan for spiritual resilience. His words are a mix of caution and hope, urging preparation not only in practical terms, but also in spiritual readiness. Although these messages come from private revelations and are not officially recognized by the Catholic Church, they continue to resonate with many people, offering guidance on how to face such profound challenges with faith and courage. The variations in the instructions highlight the personal nature of private revelations received by saints and mystics over the centuries, but the essence remains focused on prayer, protection, and faith. Across the centuries, including Padre Pio, Catherine Emmerich, and others, one of the main variations concerns the timing of the darkness. Some sources suggest that the 3 days will specifically occur on a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. This timing is significant as it aligns with the symbolism of the Paschal Triduum in Christianity, which commemorates the passion, death, and resurrection of Jesus. Another variation involves the use of sacramentals. While all versions emphasize the importance of blessed candles as the only source of light during the darkness, some accounts also recommend the use of other sacramentals such as holy water. This holy water is suggested for protection against the evils that might prevail during these dark days. The specifics regarding blessed candles also vary. It is commonly accepted that these candles should be made of beeswax and blessed by a Catholic priest. However, it is also believed that these candles will not light in the homes of the impious, thus serving as a divine test of faith. Prayer remains a central recommendation in all accounts, with the rosary and acts of spiritual communion frequently mentioned. Additionally, some sources advise reading spiritual books and engaging in specific acts of penance to maintain a sacred and focused space during the trial. Instructions on caring for animals during the 3 days of darkness also differ among the revelations. Some mystics advise providing animals with enough food and water before the darkness begins, emphasizing the need to care for all of God's creation during these periods of trial. Finally, signs preceding the darkness are mentioned in some versions of the prophecy. These signs include an exceptionally cold night and disturbances in natural phenomena such as the sun, moon, and stars. Recognizing these signs is supposed to be essential to confirm the imminence of the prophesied events and serve as a final warning to the faithful to prepare. Do you believe in this prediction? Let us know in the comments. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos we have made, click on one of them on the screen or take a look at the channel. Thank you for your attention and see you next time.